Welcome in, along with Eric Eager. I'm Steve Palazzolo. Today breaking down the best teams in college football with a specific focus on the past games. It's all brought to you by Eckrich, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. Eric, we talk quite a bit here at PFF about the pass game is king. Run game is a fine complement, but it's all about passing the ball and stopping the pass. So when we're looking at the college football playoff, even in college where I think the run game, there's some teams that can hide their pass games a little bit, it's still going to come down to your ability to move the ball through the air or stop teams through the air. So I think it's a good time to maybe evaluate the best team. So let's go through the new PFF College 25, which is over at ProFootballFocus.com. We have Alabama at number 1, Clemson's at number 2, Notre Dame number 3, Georgia number 4. When we rank the best teams in college football, let's start with how good is Alabama? How good are this next tier of teams?
Yeah, Alabama, in terms of our rating system, is better than Clemson by a value that's more than how much better Clemson is than Georgia, right? So there's basically Alabama and then everybody else, and then those 2 through 4, they're clumped together pretty substantially, and then 5 through 7 is clumped together even more so. So in this particular case, it's Alabama with a bullet to win the college football playoff, and it's mostly because of their quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He is generating over basically half an expected point per dropback. His support's been terrific, turning every air yard that he's thrown into 1.25 passing yards. So they've been very efficient offensively, and it's been very much because he's brought an added dimension to their passing game.
Yeah, Tua has actually the number 2 grade among all quarterbacks in the PFF system. He has been absolutely spectacular. The difference between Tua and the number 1 quarterback, who's Kyler Murray, we'll talk about him in a second, is what the Alabama defense is capable of.
Yep.
So we keep talking about pass game. Alabama has one of the best pass rushes in all of college football, and they can cover on the back end. So that's a big part of why they're the clear number 1. So let's jump to Oklahoma because they're sitting at number 5. Kyler Murray has been spectacular this season. A PFF grade over 95. That includes his ability as a passer and as a rusher.
Yep.
And the running ability, I mean, it was spectacular again on Saturday against Kansas. Is that an underrated part of his game at this point? Kyler Murray, from an efficiency standpoint, has been as good, if not better, than Tua, but the Oklahoma defense not even close to Alabama range.
Yeah, and they're the next team up if there were to be a team to falter in the top 4, in our opinion, and it is because of Murray. Over a half of an expected point every time he drops back to throw. That includes the passes he throws and the runs he has on scrambles. He's just been terrific so far. He's earned a positive grade on over 40% of his dropbacks this year. That's better than anything we've seen so far, and he's gotten pretty good support. Every air yard he throws is turned into more than 1 passing yard, which is a good heuristic in terms of that. So, I mean, he's been great, and I think the only thing holding them back is playing that in that Big 12 and with that defense that has had difficulty with almost everybody they've played this year.
Yeah, the 11th worst coverage grade among all Power 5 teams. So that is the big question. Pass game's good, pass coverage struggling. Let's go to some of the other teams. I mean, Clemson, when they moved from Kelly Bryant to Trevor Lawrence, they increased their pass game. Yep. And then we were on here earlier this year saying, their coverage unit was not great through 3 or 4 weeks, but they improved. So how much does something like that increase, say, Clemson's standing in this whole thing? Or Notre Dame, just adding Ian Book, being more efficient as a passing attack, but also one of the best pass rushes, and now one of the best back sevens that we've seen in college football, or at least from Notre Dame in a while. When those things start coming together, how much does that move a team up and down these rankings?
Yeah, we know coverage is probably the most important thing, but as you said with Clemson, they can, I think hide it a little bit by being so dominant up front, which they have been so far. Notre Dame, as you said, also complements a good pass rush with a great back seven, so I think that bodes well for those teams. Obviously, they don't have as tough of a test moving forward as Georgia, who has to play Alabama coming up here. We'd give them probably a 40% chance to win that. So I think if you're really looking for a team here where the rubber's going to meet the road, it's going to be Georgia here, and whether or not Jake Fromm and company can really move that offense forward with the passing game.
Whew, man, I'm stuffed.
Me too. Man, I think I could have taken you back in the day.
Taking me? Taking me where? What are you, 140?
Maybe. I had some game.
You're talking about flag football, right?
Nope. Paper. I'd whip your tail in paper football.
You carry around a paper football?
Every day. I don't leave home without it.
Kick it off, big boy.
You're on.
Eckrich. Get Saturday done right.
So we've talked a little bit, too, about Georgia at 4 in our world, because we're saying, look, they're the number 4 team. Their entire track record for the season, they're the 4th best team As of right now, we're expecting them to lose to Alabama in a couple weeks, so that does open the door for Oklahoma and for potentially Michigan. So what type of chance does Michigan have to slow down this Ohio State passing attack? Because Michigan's corners all have spectacular numbers, allowing completion percentages in the 30s into their coverage. Michigan's pass defense is the big difference between them and Ohio State right now, because Ohio State's pass defense is the second worst in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing to do offensively to be efficient is to be efficient on early downs and avoid third downs altogether. Michigan has been great at, less than 35% of early down passes have been successful against them, less than 35% of early down runs. So they've been a really good defense here. Over the last few weeks, though, we have seen some changes. I mean, Michigan did struggle against Indiana here, and we would put actually that game in Ohio State as a 50-50 proposition. So they are still not necessarily, on their way to a one-loss season. They have to really, play a pretty good game here to keep themselves in the conversation for the college football playoff against Ohio State.
All right, let's talk about the one other team that needs a little bit of mention, UCF.
Yep.
Game day was there. Yep. It was a dominant performance against hometown Cincinnati on Saturday night in Orlando. UCF, how do you even stack them up? How does the system take a team from the AAC with just different strength of schedule compared to some of these Power 5 teams and stack them up?
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be the maximum for them, simply because of the teams that they're facing. Cincinnati was great. They were ranked in the AP poll coming in. And they were a team that I think UCF matched up very well against. They want to run that kind of pro-style offense, and UCF really did. They basically gave up only one offensive touchdown in that game. But we've seen with other types of teams, more spread offenses. Temple had their way against them. Other teams sort of had their way against them. I think defensively they're a bit too weak to be into this conversation. And offensively, even though Mackenzie Milton's great, he still has issues with efficiency at times. They're not quite as clean, I think, this year as they were last year.
Right.
So I don't know. I think this is the maximum for UCF, and as great of a story and as fun to watch as they are, I don't necessarily think that they're in this conversation for one of the top 4 spots.
Currently number 7 in the PFF college rankings without a clear path to move up because of some of these other teams ahead of them. So there you have it. We're breaking down the best pass games, the most important aspect of football for the college football playoff. It's all brought to you by Eckrich, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. Don't forget to pick up your Eckrich smoked sausage at your local grocery store for this weekend's tailgate or home gate party. And be sure to visit EckrichFootball.com for great game day recipes and to enter their season-long $1 Million Challenge.